Hi, I'm Scott Hamilton, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review discussion for your ears. Talking about episode 4 of Loki and pretty much the season altogether so far. So there will be spoilers. The catalyst for this conversation is I don't watch reviews, even if they're non-spoilerish, until after I watch the episode. And the way things have been going lately in social media and such, the people that I follow, by the time I wake up on Wednesday morning, they've already watched the episode, edited together their video, and uploaded it, and already has several thousand views. And I have to wait till after my workday is over or whatever I've planned for the day before I can get to it. So it's not until after I watch an episode and get the full effect of it that I will tend to watch some of my favorite reviewers and see what they had to think about it. And it's been very interesting because this will be a divisive episode, but this conversation is not so much a review, but how I understand how all this is a kind of brilliance in modern day storytelling. One of the complaints about the new episode is are people really dead or not, which happens a lot in TV shows and less in movies because things tend to be final in a lot of the movies, except for things that deal with time travel. So there's always been that chance in this show, which deals with a lot of time travel, for deaths not to be permanent. So I know that the previous Marvel shows have played with my emotions, have given me a roller coaster ride of action and drama in different ways, each one. And by the end, we have gotten to a different place in the Marvel Universe. We have added some color to this tapestry they're weaving, but it's also been kind of minor. I mean, yes, the backstory on Wanda, I'm sure, will play into what happens to her in the upcoming Doctor Strange and other movies going forward. But when the show was really over, everything was kind of back to the way it was. We just had a deeper understanding of some characters. And the same thing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It didn't really change a whole lot of things, but we are enlightened to some deeper character beats. And when things get back in line with the MCU at the end of the series, we were kind of, knew where we were. We weren't lost in this new territory of this Section 4, Year 4, Grouping 4, whatever they're going to call this epic of a set of Marvel movies in the Marvel Universe. So a little of that kind of stuff is to be expected in Loki, that they can get as crazy as they want in the series, as long as by the end of the series it connects back into what we kind of understand that we currently have and what we're about to get in the Marvel Universe as a whole. So that does lend itself that, yes, some characters may appear to die in a time travel show and then not be dead or whatever. They can mess around with a lot of things in this and then erase it, redo it, fix it, whatever. So to get into spoilers, if you still haven't jumped in here, throughout the series, we've learned that there are different variants of Loki, and the one causing trouble is a female variant called Sylvie, and they almost develop a romance. It's kind of romantic how they care about each other because they're two peas in the same pod, cut from basically the same cloth, just different universes, different upbringings, that kind of thing. And I do like that, but it got into some weird gray areas. And so this is all culminated into last week there was a cliffhanger episode that they were stuck on one of these apocalyptic events that happen. This was the biggest of them all, that nobody survives, and they lost their way to get out. They were trapped, and it was a cliffhanger with the planet is coming down on the moon, and that was going to be the end of that. So the episode starts, the 4th episode, with a journey back to earlier time, what we basically know to be Sylvie's removal from her timeline and a cleansing of it. Looked like, Asgard as we know it, but it was reset when they pulled her out. She was like 13 years old. And she eventually escapes, and this comes back into play later in the episode. But this is how it starts, with this little flashback so we can see how Sylvie kind of did her thing on the TVA and got away. Well, that leads us around to, at the last minute, we got some great scenes with Loki and Sylvie on the planet, on the moon that the planet is about to hit. There have been a lot in reviews, people talking about that it kind of with gravity should be the other way around. But as is made clear in this episode, the planet is literally exploding and then coming down on the moon. so to speak. I guess the moon is big. I don't know. Anyway, it's some beautiful scenery, some great special effects. It's really well done. And at the last minute, they're going to get saved. This is a TV show. The two basically main stars are right here, so here we go. And yes, at the last minute, time doorways open up, and they're brought back to the TVA, where they're taken separately, and the episode continues. So they resolve the cliffhanger pretty easily, but we start learning a little bit more. They have introduced the idea that maybe the Time Lords have been lying to all the workers, that they maybe are all variants too. And it turns out that appears to be pretty true, that their memories were erased, and they're just variants like anybody else, and they're working within the TVA. More spoilers now. We find out in the episode that the Time Lords, the Time Lizards as they were called at the beginning of the episode, are really animatronic robots and not real, and they're taken out. So we don't know who's behind the TVA ultimately. There's some other big questions in the episode. I don't want to get too deep into analyzing the episode because that's not really what this is about. So during the course of events, Owen Wilson's character Mobius gets erased. He is caught by, a character who has a bit of a turnaround from bad to worse. She orders him to be erased, and he is. And it's a very poignant scene. We've really gotten to like Owen Wilson in a very short period of time in this role. Mobius has been a great character. And that he was beginning to understand and believe that they were all variants and that they had been lied to this whole time. And he probably did have a jet ski in his previous life, and that's why he had the subscription to the magazine. I like the way all this played out. But taking a step back from it all, it's very Marvel. And I mean that in the best way possible. Marvel has figured out that secret sauce to play with my emotions in movies and TV shows. And I'm sorry, I'm a jaded movie guy. I've watched and owned movies my entire life for decades, worked in video stores and had subscriptions to movies where I could go see 3 a week. And, I'm a movie nut. And so I'm pretty jaded when it comes to watching a movie and not feeling a whole lot and just being, moved by, wow, that was really pretty and well acted or whatever. It's not very often that I get emotionally invested. I know these are cartoon shows and cartoon movies based on comic books, and it's, it's modern mythology and it's silly. But on the flip side, it's good drama, and it's well written. And to someone, I guess, with my proclivity to geeky, nerdy things, they have really touched on that pulse. And I know I'm not the only one. It's the way Marvel has connected with viewers that DC has had a hard time with. I love a lot of the DC movies, but a lot of them are terrible. And I just don't feel as connected to that universe. Granted, Marvel took their time. They've got 23, 24 movies now and multiple TV series built up and great depth in these characters, giving it time to breathe. And now we know a lot about these people, and you kind of come to care at them, especially when they got decent actors playing the roles. So to watch some of my reviewers that I really like go, oh, I just, they killed Owen Wilson, I don't like the show anymore. Or the fact that it appears that they de-res Loki as well. And it's like, wow, this is going to be the Sylphie show from then on. Spoiler alert. And then there's a post-credit scene where Loki's still alive. And then the biggest plot twist of the whole episode happens right there. And it's something that Marvel's gotten really good at, especially comic book fans went, squee! And everybody else went, what the... because this after credit scene is what we're going to talk about now. If you didn't watch it, stop and go back and watch it now. So at the very end of the episode, it appears that the bad girl gets rid of Loki, and Sylvie wins the fight between the two of them, and instead of killing her, says, you're going to tell me everything about all this. All right. That's a good way to end the episode. I'm all ready for episode 5. It looks like we have a new star of the show. We've lost a couple main characters. This is going to be quite interesting. Then the after credit scene, Loki wakes up. And am I alive? Am I in hell? And a voice says, no, not yet. And the camera pans up and you see Loki variants, the likes of which you never imagined. Right out of the comic book. Like I said, if you know anything about the Marvel Universe and the Lokis, there's a Loki lizard. There were quite a few much different Lokis to our Loki and Sylvie there at the end in the post-credit scene, which leads you to believe a holy crap moment, the likes of which Marvel knows how to pull off these days and pulls it off. Even when we see things coming, even when we know how things are going to work out, there's still a lot of oh wow left in this universe. As someone who read Marvel Comics growing up, I thought that's great. And as someone, who's been watching a lot of Marvel things with people who are not Marvel fans in any way, shape, or form, it's interesting to watch that scene and kind of think of it both ways. Because if you don't know anything about it, it was like, wow, that was a heavy, where did that come from? Left field. Wow, they could go all sorts of places in the next episode. So I thought it was very well done. There's people out there, even some of my favorite reviews gave it like a 5 out of 10. I think this is calculated as it is, was a good way to do things in episode 4 when we only have 2 more to go. Marvel knows what they are doing in the storytelling department. One of these reviews thought they bungled this whole thing and lost where they were going. I'm like, no, I think you don't know where they're going. I think I don't know where they're going. But I don't think this was a oops in any way, shape, or form. I think they know exactly where they're going and what they're pulling and how they're playing with our heartstrings and those who get into it. I think you get into this vibe of what they do, their art form, if you will, or you don't. And a lot of people, millions of people have kind of grooved into it. And now we're in sync with it and in tune. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know if you're watching Loki. If you like it yet, you're listening to spoilers, so hopefully you have. I'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on the show. It's been one of the more interesting. I like it because it's more brain twisty, like WandaVision, and still has as much action as the last one, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm digging it so far. Can't wait to see where the next 2 episodes go. And episodic TV, when you're used to binging things, this is a terrible wait for 7 days. But anyway, we'll see what happens next Wednesday. I'm Scott Hamilton, ROCKFILE. Check out my website, therockfile.com. It's a simple list of links and such where you can find my other projects. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and listening. Have a great one.